Behavioral disturbances can present as a variety of signs and symptoms or clinical presentations in the outpatient departments and even in the psychiatric emergency departments, or even we usually come across these behavioral disturbances when one is on a round of the PICUs, that is the psychiatric intensive care units. So one should know how do they clinically represent. So there are a lot of varieties to it, and one should have the complete knowledge towards the assessment of such patients, which obviously starts off from the history taking, and that will also include the history that is basically of a collateral origin from a parent or from a close relative or a friend. That will basically add on to the additional factors and additional knowledge of that particular individual that we are treating. Now, defining these behavioral disturbances is again very important over here. First of all, the causative factors, which will range from the environmental conditions of that individual. Childhood history is again very important over here, and one should have the complete knowledge if the person has undergone any physical abuse or any child abuse in his or her childhood. So that is going to add on, and that is going to be documented in the history. Then the personality traits of that individual are also going to be assessed. What are the comorbidities he's suffering from? Is it any drugs that he's taking? Is there any history of substance abuse? What is the past surgical and medical history, the personal history, and also the socioeconomic history? So all of these causative factors add on to the development of a certain kind of a behavioral disturbance. Then the presentation again is very important. As I've already mentioned, there is a variety of symptoms. There is a variety of clinical presentations that is present in the psychiatric emergency departments. So basically, when we relate to the psychiatric emergencies, there is a range of presentations to it, ranging from the deliberate self-harm that we've already discussed in a separate lecture, and we have given a detailed account on this deliberate self-harm. How are we going to assess the parasuicidal behavior of this particular individual, the suicidal intentions, if he plans to have that suicidal act, how can we get to know that suicidal plan of that individual? So again, the assessment over here for the deliberate self-harm is very important, and that is a very common condition seen, and it's again, there's going to be a variety of presentations to it, ranging from even the minor deliberate self-harms that are basically the self-tattooing phenomena, and it can be even the lacerations ranging or involving the arterial damage. So these are the range of deliberate self-harms that we usually come across, and we should know how to deal and how to assess these patients, and finally the management of these patients, which obviously consists of the cognitive behavioral therapy, that is basically the counseling sessions, and sometimes this CBT is coupled with the pharmacotherapies along with it. So we have the acute behavioral problems that are also presenting in the psychiatric emergency departments. Obviously, there are a lot of reasons, there are a lot of risk factors that are related to these acute behavioral problems, ranging from the environmental risk factors as well as the personality traits of that particular individuals. If he's on a particular kind of prescription even, then he or she can present to the emergency departments with certain kinds of acute behavioral problems. Then we have delirium tremens. That is basically the withdrawal symptoms, or when the patient is on alcohol and he doesn't get the alcohol, he can present with a particular kind of syndrome which is known as the delirium tremens. So it again has its own manifestations. The assessment, the management, and the treatment modalities are again going to be clear for a particular clinician if he's working as a practicing psychiatrist. Then lithium toxicity, it has its own effects. Lithium is used as a mood stabilizer in a lot of conditions. For example, the bipolar affective disorders, the schizoaffective disorders, again, when we use lithium as a drug, there is a narrow borderline between its toxicity. So it has to be monitored very vigilantly whenever a patient is on lithium. Again, the toxicity manifests as an emergency in the psychiatric emergency departments. Then the acute dystonias, they're also related sometimes to the drug relations as well as sometimes to the environmental conditions of that particular individual. Then we have the neuroleptic malignant syndrome, which is basically the feverish condition. The temperature rises in such a syndrome, and that is related to the drugs that the person is on. The prescription usually that he is on should be checked very vigilantly, and that can result in this neuroleptic malignant syndrome. So there are the notorious group of drugs that are very popular for producing such a neuroleptic malignant syndrome. One should have the knowledge to that. So the history taking exam is very important over here when we have a patient of neuroleptic malignant syndrome, and such a patient has to be differentiated from the serotonin syndrome, which is almost the same presentation. So this is the range of psychiatric emergencies that we usually come across. One should know how to deal with them. One should know how to have that particular clinical presentation in his or her own mind. So the diagnosis is again very important over here. Then the acute behavioral disturbances, they basically comprise of 10 to 20% of the acute behavioral disturbances are caused by the pure psychiatric illnesses. So it's not related to any organic illnesses or not of any functional disorder kind. And that is basically the parietal lobe can present in the abnormalities of the language and touch. The occipital lobe, the patient usually present with the problems with the vision. And then the cerebellum, if there is some problem with the cerebellum or there are any cerebellar disorders, the balance and the coordination is going to be affected in such individuals. And then the brainstem, if it is affected, the breathing, heart rate, and the temperature is affected eventually in such individuals. The temporal lobe, if it is affected, the hearing, learning, and the feelings of the individual is affected. And frontal lobe, if it is affected, this is the lobe which is connected to the acute behavioral disturbances primarily, because any ailments of this frontal lobe are going to present in the disturbances of thinking, memory, behavior, and the movements of that individual, which is a particular clinical presentation of acute behavioral problems over here. So talking about the acute behavioral problems, when we have a look at the epidemiology, it is the most recognized prevalent psychiatric illness. The substance misuse is quite frequently related to such acute behavioral problems. And then when we look at the disorders that can relate to such acute behavioral problems, they range from the anxiety disorders and the psychosis, and as well as it can be the severe cognitive impairment disorders in that particular individual, which can present in this particular kind of a picture of behavioral problems. People suffering from antisocial personality behaviors, they also present as the acute behavioral problems, as well as the affective disorders, also known as the mood disorders. If a person is suffering from a bipolar affective disorder or a schizoaffective disorder, he or she again can present in the psychiatric emergencies as the acute behavioral disturbances known as the ABDs. So this is the abbreviation we commonly use. The presentations usually are the acute confusional states of that individual. Then the loss of consciousness and attention is also noted in these individuals. The perception is sometimes lost in these individuals. Thinking and emotion of these individuals is quite apparently affected. Then psychomotor behavior is usually seen in such individuals. Sleep-awake schedule. So the sleep pattern is going to be disturbed. When you get a complete documented history, you're going to note down all of these characteristics, including the sleep-wake disturbances, which will the patient will basically give you a history of insomnia even at most times. The patient will give you a history of aggression and irritability along with it. Talking about the causative factors which can result in the ABDs, it can be the alcohol intoxication in a lot of individuals, use of illicit drugs, substance misuse, in other words, psychosis and agitation that is associated with extreme anxiety, which is seen in such individuals, and then hypoglycemia can again present as an unconscious patient. having different dystonias. This is basically related to the hypoglycemia that he or she is suffering from. And then sepsis again can even present as an acute behavioral disorder. So in this section, basically, we gave you an introduction relating to the ABDs, that is the acute behavioral disturbances, and the causative factors along with it. That is the end to this section. Thank you for watching sqadia.com.